Okay. All right, welcome back, everybody. This is JRTA4, which we are raising money for fantastic Japanese runners to come to AGDQ. As you can see on your screen, we do have Poir and Yamayu, who will be racing Yoshi's Island. It's going to be a really awesome race. The top 4 Yoshi's Island runners will be racing each other, so that's going to be really cool. And we will also be having Shoka and Zaraki.
Now this demo
so
is
they will be
better at the game
participating
than
in the Mega Man 1 through 3 relay, and they'll be running Rockman 2. So we are looking to raise $7,500 in funds to get them over. We're doing well so far. We're at $4,200. So we need just over $3,300 or just under $3,300 to go. So really appreciate the donation so far, but we're not done yet. We still need to keep going. And yeah, we have a lot of awesome prizes that you can win. We have some great incentives. So if you donate from now until Crotel renovations, which is in 3.5 hours, if you donate $5 or more, you have a chance to win a Yoshi's Island complete in-box copy. This is the Japanese version, so that's really cool artwork. So yeah, just $5 to enter to win that. Or if you donate $25 or more throughout the marathon, that's cumulative donations. Then you're entered to win the grand prize, which is a Super Famicom bundle with Super Donkey Kong 1 through 3. So that's awesome. And yeah, just again, we have Mega Man 8 coming up, and then after that will be Dust Force DX. So stay tuned. We're almost ready, so we're just hang tight.
Is just I did the Mega Ball only.
Hi guys.
Hey.
We're almost ready. Just give us a second. Okay, so we are good to go. So you can give a countdown whenever you'd like, April, and then good to go. Sure. Okay, sure. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, so Mega Man 8 here. The start of this game, the movement's pretty simple, and pretty much the same as every other classic game. You got your slide, you want to be sliding everywhere that's possible. You got your charge buster that does 3 damage pretty much everywhere. And the one difference in this game is that half charges are actually pretty useful compared to the NES games. They'll do 2 damage in most places. So in the intro stage here, we're going to be picking up the Mega Ball, which is your bread and butter in this game. Not only does it do damage, but you can also jump off of it, like how a rush coil would work. But you can also chain jumps together in midair to get pretty much indefinite amounts of height. You'll also see Maple do a jump here where she slides off of a ledge and then does a Mega Ball jump. This is really convenient because it extends your slide off the ledge and then also gives you the jump. So you'll be seeing that a fair bit. You have 8 frames whenever you leave the ledge to get a Mega Ball jump in. So the intro boss here, Yada Cargo, this guy's pretty straightforward. If you just open him up with a Mega Ball, then you can just mash balls directly into his hitbox, and hopefully he'll be going down in 1 cycle. The Orsa special. Alright, so Mega Man 8, this does the same thing that Mega Man 7 does, where it splits the 8 Robot Masters up into 2 sets of 4. The The order for the first 4 revolves pretty much around the rush items that you get. Tengu and Grenade are both pretty quick buster fights, but in Grenade Man, whenever you defeat the mid-boss, you'll get a rush item that lets you move much quicker. That'll save a lot of time in stages like Clown Man. So we want to do that first in order to get the rush motorcycle. So you'll be seeing Grenade Man first, and then we'll be following weakness order. So this first screen of Grenade Man is surprisingly technical. There's a lot of enemies you have to get through. There's exploding barrels that you want to put charge shots through so they all blow up at the same time. Mega Man 8 has a really nice feature though where there's a dedicated buster button. So Maple can both drop Mega Balls and be charging a buster at the same time. The Mega Ball routing on this first half stage is also very tight. Thankfully, the game refills your Mega Balls and all of your weapon energy at the halfway mark. So we can use a lot more Mega Balls here, but the routing here is still like very precise. We're coming up on the mid-boss here. This is the first example of boss RNG in this game. This guy takes, I think it's 10 or 11 Mega Balls before he goes down. And 11, cool. And he can dive at any point, which wastes about 4 to 5 seconds. There's a slight manipulation for this guy, where if you stand in the center, it seems like he's much less likely to dive. Unfortunate. The annoying part about this boss is he also has the junk that comes up from the ground below you that can eat your Mega Balls. That was a really good kill though. He has to drop all the way down to the bottom before he drops the item, so the lower he dies, the better off you are. And then you'll be seeing the first example of Rush Bike here. Rush Bike is exactly as fast as the upgraded slide in this game, which you'll be seeing later, but you also maintain your velocity in the air. Okay. You'll also see Maple be grabbing some bolts here. Bolts are like currency in this game. There's 40 developer-intended bolts that you can grab to buy items in the shop. 6 of them are directly in your path in the first 4 robots, and we only need 5 to upgrade the slide after the first 4 robots. So we don't have to go out of our way to buy items or anything, just to go to the shop. Grenade Man is actually a really interesting fight here. He takes 1, 2, 3 damage from Lemon's half charges and full charges. So you'll see Maple open with a full charge and then use half charges for the rest of the fight, except at one point. Since he has 40 HP, that works out pretty much exactly to 40. Ideally, you want Grenade Man to stay on the ground. He'll always do 2 actions and then he'll dash. You want him to do horizontal flash bombs like that, and the best way to get him to do that is to be on the opposite side of the arena from him. He has a much higher chance to do it then. That was a pretty good grenade fight. Okay, so like I said, from here on out we'll be going in weakness order, so we'll be going to Frostman next, and then Tengu Man, and then Clown Man. So Frostman is the first of the auto-scroller stages for the most part. Frostman has the first of the jetboard auto-scrollers, which are kind of fun. A little more entertaining than just the Rush Jet one.
Ready?
You also see a lot of sliding with Mega Balls here. Sliding with Mega Balls is kind of awkward to do sometimes because Mega Balls will move with you differently depending on where you drop them. But thankfully there's a really good backup for that. If you just chain your slides a little bit worse, you can get the ball a little bit in front of you. The one really cool thing about the jet board is it makes Mega Ball jumps really easy because of how you're constantly moving forward. So pretty much if you drop a Mega Ball at any point whenever you're falling on the jet board, you'll get a jump. Other than that, there's not a whole lot to these. And if you have anything to read or plug, now would be a good time.
Do you mean to tell me I should be doing stuff during this high intensity?
Well, maybe.
Okay. Yeah, we don't have any donations currently. You guys can change that, hint, hint. But just want to let everybody know that this is the JRTA Marathon, the 4th edition, and we're trying to raise money for 4 awesome runners to get to AQUA. Shoka, Yamayu, Poir, and Zaraki. So as you can see on your screen, we do have to get to $7,500. So please keep the donations coming in. We really appreciate it. Even if you can't donate, spreading the word, posting us, tweeting about the event using the hashtag JRTA4. Anything you can do to spread the word, we appreciate that. That means just as much as donating. But if you are so inclined to donate, we have some cool things that you can donate for. That's upcoming incentive, the Long Run Classic incentive, the Snatcher Dating Sim. I have no idea what that is, but it sounds kind of neat. So you should donate for that. It's only at $75 out of $200, so you can make that happen. Also, if you do donate for the next 3 hours or so until Crowdtail Renovations is over, you are entered to win a Yoshi's Island Complete in Box copy as long as you donate $5 or more. So that's pretty cool. So yeah, keep watching. We appreciate your viewership, and yeah, hopefully we get some more donations in.
So this auto-scroller is a lot shorter than the first one, so we're coming up on the boss already. Frostman is actually probably the easiest boss in the game. He almost gets stun-locked by his weakness. He can only get stunned out of a couple different attacks, but he doesn't do enough damage to kill you, like faster than he goes down to Flash Bomb. So you pretty much just stand to tank everything he can do. The only annoying part about Frostman is he has 40 health and Flash Bomb does 3, so he'll always end up with like 1 or 2 extra HP. Kind of an unfortunate reality. Apple's going to open with a charge shot here. Moves a little bit faster than the Flash Bomb. And you can sort of buffer it out of the health filling animation. Are you sure it wasn't just Frostman? That fight's pretty intense. Alright, so next up is Tengu Man. This, if it weren't for the, 2.5 minute auto-scroller in the middle, this stage would probably be my favorite in the game. The gimmick is there's like wind that's constantly pushing you forward, so you can actually go pretty quick if you know where the platforms are going to spawn and stuff. And you can also skip some intended very slow sections with some neat Mega Ball jumping here.
Ready?
Okay, so these bubble sections, you're intended to be getting into the center and like riding a bubble up and avoiding the spikes very, very slowly. But you can skip all of that with just some quick Mega Ball jumps. Also, this is the first time you see Maple combine weapons together. Mega Man 8 is, I think, the only game that does this in the series, where if you weapon cancel away from something while a weapon is on the screen, then it doesn't like make it disappear like it does in Mega Man 10. So you can actually combine like Mega Ball and Ice Wave and Buster all together. Makes going fast really fun. Yeah, so the only really important part about the auto-scroller here is the partners that you can get out of the party balls. The first one, it doesn't really matter which partners you get. You can get any or none or all. The second one, you do very much want Beat the Bird, though. Beat acts as a constant damage source for the mid-boss, so to fight the mid-boss in the second section, you can literally just get the bird and then put the bird inside him, and he goes down in like 3 cycles. It is random which partners you get. You see Maple got pretty lucky there that Beat showed up on the first one. There's 2 sort of party balls that will always show up, but you can force more drops by being at low health. So if you get really unlucky, you can always just lose some health and force more party balls to show up. If you do happen to get super unlucky, using Eddy or half charges isn't the worst thing in the world, but it is much slower. Also, we haven't talked about the differences at all. I guess Maple's playing the Saturn version, which is sort of like the Rockman 2 of Mega Man 8 on difficult mode. It adds a few more enemies here and there, and it also adds 1 optional boss in Cutman in the mid-stage, and it adds Woodman in Searchman stage as a mandatory mid-boss. You'll be seeing both of those guys a little bit later on. And then out of this auto-scroller, this last section looks very, very scary, because you're going to see Maple be sliding off of a bunch of platforms that haven't quite come up yet, but she knows exactly where they're going to be, so they will catch her even though they don't look like they're going to. And then Tengu Man is probably like the hardest fight in the game potentially, if you're doing it properly. He does take double damage from the Buster, but you're not going to see Maple be using it. Instead, she's going to be chasing him around with Mega Balls depending on which pattern he gives. So you can hit him with Ice Wave anytime while he's in the air. You just have to be either even with him or above him, sort of drop it on him. So depending on the pattern he gives, you've seen her do different things. Yeah, that was really good. The fight's very reactive, and Tengu Man moves really fast, so you have to be very practiced to do that fast. Okay, so that just leaves Clown Man then. And again, for a lot of these first 4 bosses, since we don't have the upgraded slide yet, the best thing to do in most of these situations is going to be immediately switch to Rush Bike, since it moves at a much faster speed than the base slide. hit your party ball. These trains are kind of interesting. They're on a fixed cycle all the time, but it's sort of dependent on how your movement is and what you get out of the party ball. You can shoot them to make them go faster though, so even if you get a bad train cycle, you can sort of mitigate the bad luck. And we're coming up on Sissy Roll here, the mid-boss. Maple's going to be kicking Mega Balls at him. He doesn't do a whole lot other than bounce around and summon some enemies sometimes. The toy soldiers will grab you as long as you're not in iframes, but you can avoid that just by intentionally damage boosting through the coin instead. And in this section, you're going to see the first example of combining weapons to platform. Maple picked up Tornado Hold from Tengu Man, which is just basically a giant tornado that lets you move vertically upward while you're in it. So you can combine that with a Mega Ball to get more speed than you normally would with just a regular Mega Ball jump. You see that up some of these ladders here. It's really neat, but unfortunately it doesn't stay feasible for very long, considering you start picking up more and more weapons and the swaps get harder and harder. So in this room, you're intended to know which pairs of blocks connect to each other to sort of climb this room with teleporting block. But you can skip all of that with just some clever Mega Ball jumping through the gaps. And we'll be on to Clown Man here. Clown Man's kind of interesting in that his weakness is a little bit hard to use. You don't want to hit him with it while he's on the trapeze, because he goes into a big long stun animation if you do. And you also don't want to hit him with the actual fan part of the tornado, because he only takes, I think, 1 damage compared to 4 or 5 if you actually hit him with the tornado part. So if he's ever on the ground, you need to put him in iframes with a buster and then drop the tornado on him. And that finishes with the first 4 robots, so we'll be on to fight Cutman and Duo next. So Cutman's at the top of the ladder here. You go left. In the PS1 version, there's just a bolt here. But in the Saturn version, there's a whole boss fight here that you get the bolt when you win. Cutman takes a lot of damage from a lot of different weapons. I think there's like maybe 4 or 5 weapons that do 4 damage to him. But Maple's going to be opting for Thunderclaw, I believe. And you get a bolt for winning, and then we're on to fight Duo. He's sort of the real boss of the mid-stage. Duo is also like most bosses in this game in that he's a big idiot who can choose to go invincible pretty much whenever he wants. He has 2 different attacks. One of them is just like a big AoE fist attack where he just punches the ground. That's good because he just is vulnerable the whole time. He can also turn into a comet and bounce around, which wastes a bunch of time. Here that is. The strategy for this boss is everything that you have except for full buster charges does 1 damage to Duo. So you sort of want to do like a CFO sort of strat on this guy, where you keep him in iframes with a flash bomb, and then you charge while the flash bomb is hitting him, and hopefully deal 2 damage right when he comes out. But after Duo is defeated, we get some more items in the shop, one of which we really, really want. The Maple's gonna be making a quick trip to the mall. Okay, so the item she picked up is called Hyper Slider. It just makes her slide faster and better in every single way. It's the only item that's really worth it considering the amount of bullets we have. There's some other upgrades that are good, like Quick Charge is really good, and Arrow Shot is a really good buster upgrade, but you'd have to go out of your way to get them, and they're not worth it then. Okay, so this is where the fun part of the game starts, once you have some weapons to work with and the upgraded slide. Are you going for puzzle room, Skip? I guess we'll find out. Nice, okay. So that skip saves about 4 seconds if you get it first try, compared to going all the way around. It's a little bit easier if you set it up like that. I think you have like a pixel or two more to work with. If you don't set it up, yeah, if you don't set it up, it's frame perfect compared to 3 if you do, so. And you can die if you mess that up. The pillar can crush you. So I guess it's worth talking about the Robot Master Order here. We don't actually have a weakness because Mega Man 8 has 2 cycles of weaknesses, one for the first 4 and one for the second 4. But the developers sort of mitigated that by adding soft weaknesses to where Astro Man and Sword Man will both take 2 damage instead of 3 from Flash Bomb and Ice Wave respectively. So it's just a matter of which one of those is faster. And I think the way it works, if I remember correctly, is that Swordman is faster optimally, but he's a lot more luck dependent without Water Balloon. So Astro Man is a lot better to choose first. And this is also the last opportunity for Tornado Hold ball jumps you'll see here. After this, the weapon swaps get too hard to do it more consistently. So Astro Man has a lot of luck involved here. There's one really, really good pattern, the one where he just stays on screen the entire time. If he starts to teleport at all, that's bad luck. So hopefully we see a good pattern here. The only real strategy to this boss is just keep a flash bomb on him at all times. Just make sure he's in iframes whenever possible. Oh, this is the good pattern right here where he starts orbiting his balls around. Nice. Really good Astro pattern there. Okay, so from here on out, we're back in the weakness cycle, so we can just go to Aquaman, and then Swordman, and then Searchman. Okay, so Aquaman's kind of an interesting stage. Most of it's underwater. You do have access to swimming in this game, where you can just kind of scroll up vertically like that. You won't see it too much because it's a little slow for the most part. If you can ascend up with a tornado hold or a ball jump, that's going to be faster most of the time. We're coming up on the mid-boss here, Gorane, who's honestly, I think the worst thing about this game. He's pretty luck-based also. He can dive at any point, his pattern whenever he chooses. But thankfully he takes 2 damage from just about everything, so if he's above you, below you, or to the side of you, you can hit him with different weapons depending on what's convenient. There's also another dumb part about this, where this waterfall loops on a cycle, so depending on whenever you defeat him, you might need to wait more or less time depending on where in the cycle you're at. Okay, so there's actually 2 paths through this stage. If you Astro Crush the breakable part, you raise the water level and can access a different part of the stage. That's a little bit slower just because it takes a little bit longer to fall. So we'll be going through the intended main path. And these spike balls, contrary to popular belief, are not regular spikes, they just do a lot of damage, so you can actually stand on them just fine. Aquaman here is not that big of a threat. You can stun lock him from full to 0, assuming he does not jump into you at the start. That's why this fight can be a little bit scary if you come in with, like, not very much health. But if you just alternate between Crush and Buster, then that's exactly enough damage to take him out. Okay, so we're into Swordman now. Swordman is my favorite stage in the game. I don't think it's Maples, but this stage is really, really fun. The really nice part about locking bosses to 2 cycles here is that the developers now know that you have certain weapons, so you can make them mandatory to pass in Swordman. So they can design like entire challenges around like having Flash Bomb or having Ice Wave in this stage. The first part of this stage is exactly that. There's sort of 4 different trials, 1 for each weapon, and whenever you beat them all, you access the mid-boss. So you get to see a lot of varied weapon usage in this stage. So the Thunderclaw room here, the gimmick is that you can swing with Thunderclaw on these little pegs, sort of like grapple. And you can also use Thunderclaw to activate the switches instantly and not get killed by the spikes. Thunderclaw is also really good as a damage dealing weapon if you can get behind an enemy. Because on the backswing for Thunderclaw, it can hit multiple times, so it'll hit on every frame. So if the enemy doesn't have iframes, they'll pretty much just go down instantly. The Flash Bomb room here, the gimmick is that you can light up the room with flash bombs and see the color order in the background. So each of the 3 rooms will have 1 colored panel, and then at the end you just step on the switches in the pattern that you see.
Alright, chat. We've been enjoying this run. It's been a really good run so far. So why don't you why don't you show some support to the marathon, to a streamer right now, and throw $1 or $2 towards the total. Trying to raise $7,500. All your support, anything you can do, we really appreciate it. Also, it's also so I don't fall asleep. So please don't make me fall. Thank you.
Alright, so cleaning up the Ice Wave room here, and then we'll be into JRTA4, who's the mid-boss. This boss was a pretty big idiot until recently. We figured out a consistent strat to 2-cycle this guy. More or less the way this fight works is that it's split up into 2 phases for the first half of his health bar and then the second. But he doesn't have iframes whenever he opens and closes. So if you can have flash bombs on him whenever he opens and closes, you can sort of just plow through his health bar and skip the entire second phase. And then Swordman coming up. Swordman was actually the same way until about a year ago now. We came up with a fairly consistent way to manipulate Swordman to not do his big fire spin attack where he goes invincible. The idea is that Swordman has to have horizontal space to actually spin and hit the wall. So if he's up against a wall and you get behind him, so that he's facing the other way but has no room to spin, then he just won't. So at the start he can spin if he so chooses, but as soon as he jumps up against the wall, the fight's pretty much over. So then that just leaves Searchman. So at the start of Searchman here, you'll see the very last instance of Rush Bike in this run. Usually we don't use Rush Bike in the second half because Rush Bike is exactly as fast as Hyper Slider, so pausing and switching to it is slower. However, in this case, because you spend so much time in the air, where you need to maintain the slide speed while you're jumping, it actually works out to be slightly faster to use it here. And then at the midpoint here, we'll see Woodman from Mega Man 2. His weakness is Flame Sword. He takes a fair bit of damage from it, and you can also hit him through Leaf Shield with it, so that's pretty much the optimal weapon. You just get up close and sort of whack him. Good wood.
Good wood.
The second half of the stage is more or less just a lot of weapon combining here. Like you'll see a lot of Ice Wave, a lot of Tornado Hold, a lot of Thunderclaw. Just the fastest possible way to get through these enemies, because there's a lot of them in this stage. And then for Searchman, he's a little bit random. He can either throw like missiles or some sort of homing attack while he's on screen, or he can jump off screen and hide in the bushes. We have Flame Sword to clear the bushes if he does that, but that does waste time. So ideally we don't want to see any bushes here. Alright, so that'll take us into the fortress then. In other categories, you do an extra shopping trip here to get some extra items, but unfortunately we don't have enough bolts to get anything of use. So the first Wily stage here is another jetboard autoscroller, and I think this is the one that killed most people playing this game as a kid, including myself. Though it's not quite as hard as an adult, I promise.
I mean, mentally it's...
Mentally, maybe. Yeah. There are also some ways to cheese it. Like for example, whenever you're using Astro Crush, you don't drop down, you just sort of float in the air while you're crushing. So if you get to the end, almost to the end, you can just spam Astro Crush and not fall in any holes. So a little bit more platforming here with Thunderclaw, and then we'll be getting to the boss of the stage, Adatamino. I know for a fact when I was playing this game when I was like 7 or 8 that this boss was like impossible for me. Just because I was bad at geometry, I guess. There is a weird thing with this boss though, where the speed at which you hit the door determines your precise position in the room. So you can be a little bit more forward or a little bit more back than this, which makes it very annoying to get that early hit consistent. But after that part, the fight is just pretty straightforward. You just want to break all the things as fast as possible to get through to the next cycle. And also you can hold up to kick the Mega Ball at a slightly higher angle.
Just reminding everybody that up next after Mega Man 8 is going to be a Dust Force DX SS All Levels run. It's a really sick run if you've never seen it before. It's one of the hardest like speedrun categories I've ever seen. So Crankdot is going to be showing that off. So stick around. Please watch that run if you can.
Alright, Wily 2 here. This is, I think the first part of Wily 2, at least for me, is like the hardest movement in the entire game. There's just so many enemies. The terrain is really weird, and you have to avoid a bunch of stuff. The Jetboard autoscroller here, the Rush Jet autoscroller, rather, is pretty straightforward for the most part, although there is a slight skip at the end that was found by Clear Tonic about a year ago. We'll be getting to that whenever we get there. Maple showing off some water balloon here. Water balloon's a really cool weapon that unfortunately doesn't have too much use outside of a task. It doesn't have a shot limit on it, so you can pretty much fire it as fast as you can mash. As you can see there were about 30 water balloons on screen there at once. But you're going to see Maple be taking damage throughout this auto-scroller, so she's at low health when we get close to the end. And then at a very certain point, we're going to hopefully be dying to an enemy, which will trigger the checkpoint a little bit further ahead for some reason and put you further in the auto-scroller about 11 seconds or so. So hopefully we'll be getting this death warp. Okay, and pretty much as soon as this Klein here comes on screen, it's okay to die, so there we go. And then we're forward in the auto scroll. Klein, that's what it's called. Know your lore. Alright, so Blyking's a big idiot here. All of his health bar is in his wings, so basically if he opens his tail at all, that's just a time loss. If he opens his wings 3 times, that's a 3 cycle, and if he opens everything at all, that's a 2 cycle, which is what Maple just got, so lucky. So Wily 3 is actually a pretty tough stage, especially at the start here. There's a lot of spikes, a lot of hazard, a lot of Mega Ball jump. This is the only other stage in the game apart from the first half of Grenade where Mega Balls are very tightly routed. So skipping this bomb block section here. Normally you're supposed to wait for the walking bomb blocks to progress a little bit and then jump, but you can skip them all with some Mega Balls. Then we have Forte here. Forte is similar to Duo in that he takes 1 damage from everything except a full Buster charge. So ideally we're going to be keeping him in iframes with a Flash Bomb and then charging while he's in iframes to try to hit him with a 2 damage shot after he comes out. Forte does 1 attack where he can go out of range of your Buster, where he'll go up and shoot a big laser. If he does that, really your only option is Astro Crush, but you only have limited ammo with that, so you can only deal with that so many times. Here it is. There's also one more thing with this boss, where he dies is very important to going fast, because you can see he moves very, very slowly and has to move to that exact spot before he'll start talking. So if he dies in like the upper left corner of the room, then that's like almost 10 seconds worth of time loss of just him moving. It's worth noting that Forte also has the shortest iframes in the game, to the point where Astro Crush will hit him 3 times instead of just 2. And we're up to Green Devil here. The strategy for this guy is hit him with a flash bomb to open him up, and then thunderclaw him after that. If you do that correctly, he'll go down in 2 cycles. It's just a matter of what he does in between. But it's sort of like a thing with the grenade mid-boss, where we think if you stand in the right spot, then he'll always do the best pattern. So if Maple stands in the correct positioning here, then hopefully he'll be coming right back up. A little bit too far to the left, yeah. So we're gonna get some wave. And 2 waves isn't too bad. He can do up to 4 waves, or he can do like a spike attack, which is the equivalent of 2 or 3. This game has come a long way very recently, and like this game used to be just an RNG fest, like every single boss could lose you 15 to 20 seconds, but now like we found some manipulations and the game as a whole is a lot more consistent. There are still some idiots, but overall the amount of RNG has been cut down pretty significantly. Alright, so we're into refights here. We're gonna start with Swordman, just because we need to take a lot of damage to do the Swordman manipulation, and it's good to have full health. Besides starting with Swordman and then working your way left, the order doesn't really matter too much. Swordman's being a jerk. Like I mentioned before, if he spins at the start of the fight, there's really nothing you can do. Usually after he does too, he'll calm down and jump against a wall instead. The only refights that are going to be significantly different are Astro and Grenade, since we have their weaknesses now. So you'll see AQUA and Search next, and they're going to be pretty much the same. The only thing that's a little different here is instead of ending the fight in the center of the room like a standard Mega Man, you want to end as close to the boss as possible so you can grab the health and start the teleport out as soon as possible. Oh, right. Also, you start way closer to Searchman since the room is smaller, so you can actually just hit him immediately just by mashing Flame Sword at the start here. So remember, we're looking for no bushes here. He just stays on the screen the whole time, that's best. Pretty much perfect. Alright, so with Astro Man's weakness here, the fight becomes a little bit easier. Assuming he comes down immediately. The trick to this fight is that hitting him with a homing sniper, or even targeting him with it at all, will like stun him for a little bit. So if he comes down, then you can sort of just stun lock him completely. Kind of feel bad for the guy until you remember how hard the first fight is, and then you don't really feel bad for him anymore. So, Grenade is also a little bit different. We have his weakness, Thunderclaw, which, in addition to dealing extra damage to him directly, you can also use to reflect flash bombs at him, if he gives you the opportunity. Alright, so remember with Clown Man here, we don't want to hit him with the tornado while he's swinging. We also don't want to hit him with the fan part while he's on the ground. You can also do this attack, which you didn't. I don't think you saw the first time, where he goes invincible for a couple seconds and bounces around the room. It's obviously suboptimal. So Tenguman, we're going to be chasing him around Mega Ball. The refight is actually significantly harder because there's one additional weapon swap between Mega Ball and Ice Wave, which increases the difficulty by an order of magnitude. Impossible game. Okay, and then that just leaves Frostman. Frostman, you can do the same thing where you just sort of tank all his damage, but ideally you want to have full health going into Wily Machine just in case. So you might see some dodging here. Imagine that, dodging in a Mega Man speedrun.
I can't imagine.
And like we mentioned before, Frostman has 40 HP and Flash Bomb does 3. So if you just hit him with Flash Bombs the whole time, he'll end with 1 health left. So you saw Maple just shoot some lemons at the start to put him at a multiple of 3. Okay, and then we're Wily Machine, and we have Capsule after that, and then we'll be done. So Machine he takes the same amount of weakness damage from both Flame Sword and Water Balloon, so it's sort of personal preference which one you use. Most people tend to prefer Flame Sword just because you can hit the cannon with it directly to close the mount. You can also use Astro Crush, which deals the same amount of damage over time to dodge some attacks if you want to conserve your health. And you don't need it for Wily Capsules, so you might as well just dodge the big blade with it. Okay. And then Capsule has 40 HP, and Flash Bomb deals 2 damage, so it's kind of a long fight. Thankfully, his patterns aren't too terrible to dodge. You can spawn in one of, like, I think 6 or 7 positions. Some of them are too high to just jump and hit, so you need the Mega Ball jump. Time is coming up as soon as Capsule's health hits 0. It's really unfortunate that you can only hit him 1 time per cycle. Like, as far as discoveries in this game go, like a way to double hit Capsule or something like that would be a massive time save. You'd literally cut the fight in half. Nice Thunderclaw. One more hit. Going for the swag kill. GG. It's time.
GG. About 56-22.
Not bad.
Solid. All right. Well, thank you very much, Maple, for the Mega Man 8 run. And thank you very much, Orso, for the commentary. Appreciate it. And coming up next is the Dust Force DX SS All Levels run. So please stay tuned while we get that set up. Might take us a couple extra minutes for this one, but promise that it's set up soon. So yeah, stick around.